government says it's tough times ahead for the economy. New Transport Minister to focus on aviation safety. And the Ferns arrive for the first Olympic qualifier.
This is National MTV News with Lorraine Genia.
Good evening and welcome to Thursday's news. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill held a media conference today to deal with a range of issues facing the country, such as the economy. Mr. O'Neill said that like many countries around the world, Papua New Guinea is going through tough times because of the continued drop in global oil prices. However, he said the government was keeping an eye on the global situation and managing the country's tight cash position on a daily basis.
Prime Minister O'Neill told the media gathered today about the lifting of oil and financial sanctions on Iran, the Middle Eastern country whose oil reserves ranked the 5th largest in the world. He said PNG's national budget was drawn up based on the big picture, taking into account both the high and low extremes of commodity prices. The Prime Minister added that the PNG government will continue to monitor the situation and a review of the national budget will only be considered if there is a requirement. He urged critics to only engage in constructive debates about the country's economy.
The sanctions against Iran will be lifted. It appears that it will be lifted. And that will mean that there will be more oil on the market, and as a result, prices will be again affected because everybody is competing for market share. And we will continue to monitor the pricing of the commodities as we move forward. And it won't stay low forever. It will, of course, at some stage will start to increase again.
He was confident that oil prices would not remain low for good and that the outlook for PNG was positive, with investors like ExxonMobil wanting to expand their projects.
PNG has got a big confidence from many big investors. You look at ExxonMobil is now trying to expand the LNG project. If they thought that it was not a money-making exercise, they will not be invested in such a big project like that.
Deli Waigeno, National MTV News.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill today received an award in recognition of his contribution to the management of Papua New Guinea's economy and towards the advancement of higher education in the nation. Mr. O'Neill was made a Fellow of Institute of Certified Management Accountants of Australia, a recognised institute which is associated with the Jubilee University of Papua New Guinea. Emeritus Professor Yannick Ratnatunga and Dr. Thaddeus Kambane of Jubilee University conferred the award in a convocation ceremony. Dr. Kambane said the Prime Minister was nominated for his stewardship of the economy, which has grown to over 50 billion kina in size, and his involvement in advancing higher education to create opportunities for more college-aged Papua New Guineans. A review of the import ban on fruits and vegetables is expected to be made soon. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill made this clear today. He says the review to be announced by the Minister for Agriculture and Livestock is a way forward in dealing with the import ban.
The import ban will be reviewed to find ways to manage the import of fruits and vegetables into the country. This approach has been sought after numerous concerns were raised by business community and the public. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says the import ban imposed by the National Agriculture and Quarantine Inspection Authority was more of a biosecurity measure.
The Minister for Agriculture has briefed me on the reasons why the ban has taken place. He stated that the issues are not related to just banning the imports for the sake of banning foreign vegetables and of course foods in our supermarkets, but more so about the biosecurity of some of these products that are entering our country. Just like any other country in the world, whether it's Australia, whether it's United States, biosecurity is very important.
He personally supports the import ban but wants to see it be done in a more structured manner. Much of what is imported can be produced locally, and the government is encouraging Papua New Guineans to grow vegetables. He also called on importers to align themselves with local farmers to maintain consistency in the supply of fruits and vegetables. Over the next few months, the government expects importers to meet with local farmers to have reliability of supply into their supermarkets.
Once you've created the volume and there's enough volume to replace the imported volume, that's the point in time in which you do a complete ban. By making such erratic decisions like that, the people who actually pay the price are the ordinary Papua New Guineans who go to the market. They have to pay through their teeth to get the normal vegetables that they have to get.
It is too early to predict whether the review will result in the drop in prices of fruits and vegetables, but O'Neill is confident the approach taken will be beneficial to all stakeholders. Mickey Cavera, National MTV News.
Finance Minister James Marape also held a news conference saying the 2016 fiscal year will be hard and tough. Minister Marape said expenditure control will be the only tool at the government's disposal. He maintained that spending will be strictly on core government priority areas pointed out in the budget.
Finance Minister James Marape has made it clear that the 2016 fiscal year will be controlled and monitored. He maintained that government will focus on taking stock of its expenditure after experiencing the shortfall in revenue forecast in 2015.
2016 will be also equally a hard year to manage. Revenues are forecasted against possible collections. But the tool we have within our control, that is actual and real-time, is expenditure controls.
The Finance Department will balance government books to present account reports from 2009 to 2014 and 2015 in the March Parliament session. Minister Marape also announced the ceasing of all government-issued checks of 2015.
Unprecedented checks of 2015 no longer valid and redundant. We asked them for them to represent their checks and represent their claims to agencies and departments of state that has engaged them.
Department Secretary Dr. Ken Nangan has called on all government departments to work with finance to achieve its objectives.
We'll be issuing more expenditure controls through a new finance instruction shortly. So all I can ask for is for the government, heads of government departments and agencies to work with us.
Earlier this week, Senior Yongomul MP Kerenga Kua said PNG's economy will recover later in the year, but the government's prudent management can overcome effects felt by the drop in oil prices.
What it calls for, therefore, during these very difficult times, is astute leadership. Leadership which is on top of all governance requirements.
The Finance Department will be working closely with the commercial banks to control the government spending and cash flow in the country. Jack Lepave Jr., National MTV News.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says elections for 2017 will go ahead as planned. His comments follow recent reports that the 2017 elections will be deferred. He says elections are a constitutional right for the people and the government will not interfere or defer the elections as claimed by some critics.
Electoral Commissioner has informed government that he is setting the dates for the issue of writs, and we have accepted that. That is on the 24th of March in 2017. The writs will be issued, and we look forward to seeing our critics at the campaign field, so that our people can have their say. If they say that we've had enough of Peter O'Neill and his government, we will move on.
Lay Secondary School Principal Christopher Raymond says the school has no funds to start off the 2016 academic year. This comes after a shortfall in the total payments of TFF funds allocated in 2015. Last year, Lay Secondary School expected more than 700,000 kina in its second instalment payments, but received over 500,000 kina.
This school fell short by 200,000 kina in its last quarterly payments last year. The money was to be used by the school to cater for the beginning of every new academic year to help with purchasing school uniforms, stationery and other expenses. This year, Lae Secondary School will be charging students' parents 400 kina for grades 9 and 10 and 500 kina for grades 11 and 12 students to make up for the shortfall.
So if the government does come through and they meet all the shortfalls for last year, then I might as well have to refund all the money again, you see. And that I will be obliged to do. But then again, I still have to wait until the government comes good to meet all its obligations.
Lae Secondary School received more than 1 million kina for its TFF funds last year. This year, it will be among schools across the country that receives only a portion of the allocated 150 million kina. As the start of the academic year nears, Lae Secondary School has not received its share.
I'm buying 450 kina this year. So me confused little. Government will buy free tuition fee na. Me plan now buy 450 kina again.
Lae Secondary is part of the large group of schools that are still waiting for the TFF funding. Now, the school has received verbal notice that the Provincial Education Board will approve its submissions to charge project fees to students' parents. And though the government hasn't stated when it will pay, schools are now taking the next step to charge parents. Colin Barilai, National MTV News, Lae.
And among stories after the break, the takeover of the Transport and Infrastructure Ministry. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. The new Minister for Transport and Infrastructure, Nixon Duban, will be focusing on maintenance safety and small aircraft transportation. Duban takes over from William Duma, who is now Minister for Public Enterprise and State Investments.
Outgoing Minister for Transport William Duma thanked the ministry board and management for working with him. He said that even though the ministry wasn't as high profile as other ministries, the Transport Ministry was a vital ministry for the people of Papua New Guinea.
A very important ministry, although people in Treasury and Finance seem to think otherwise in terms of allocation for funding. Everything moves by our three modes of transport. Sea, land and air. And unfortunately in this country, these things are taken for granted.
Nixon Duban thanked the outgoing minister for a job well done. He said that he did not know much about transport, but would use his experience from handling the 4 other ministries he had held as a parliamentarian to help run the ministry.
A lot of economic challenges. The transport sector is an important sector. I saw the Secretary of the Department that we work together harmoniously, and so that all the objectives that we need to see through must be fully realized.
The new Transport Minister said that the key areas he would be looking at was the maritime safety issues and small aircraft for provincial areas.
We need to give more attention to the Small Craft Act, which I have started in Penang for my electorate. Also issues on public transport. As a president, need to take a closer scrutiny on how we can improve and modernize the current public transport, and that will become one of the most important priority for me.
Adelaide Xerox Kari, National MTV News.
Acting Judge Sally Koget has cautioned lawyers at the National Court to correctly interpret laws and advise their clients on their legal positions. Justice Sally made this comment after lawyers representing Solomon Tato and Julie Soso filed motions to consolidate 2 proceedings, one filed in Goroka and the other at the Waigani National Court. Tekla Gunga reports.
Judge Koget said laws must be interpreted and applied according to the effect of the case, and lawyers must clearly explain to their clients on the legality of their cases. Judge Koget corrected both lawyers yesterday and said there was no urgency in the applications and adjourned the case to February 15. He made these remarks following an urgent application filed by Eastern Islands Governor Julie Soso's lawyer on the recent impasse in Goroka town on the grounds that there are 2 court orders in place, one issued by Goroka and the other by the Waigani National Courts. This is in regard to the position of the Eastern Highlands Provincial Administrator. Following allegations of misconduct by former administrator Solomon Tato, SOSO appointed Samson Akunai as the new administrator. On 30th November 2015, SOSO and Tato had obtained a court order for the matter to return to court on 21st December 2015 because of the political impasse in Goroka. However, both parties had failed to attend to court on that given date, and Judge Koget said the court order had lapsed. Meanwhile, Judge Koget blamed the lawyers for the political impasse in the province, stating that because clients are wrongly advised by their lawyers, they do not understand the seriousness of their cases. Tekla Gunga, National, MTV News.
University students from the Voicing's third-level leadership development program are in Port Moresby to participate in a week-long conference on leadership and advocacy in nation building. The students flew in from various universities around the country to take part in the conference. It began last Friday and ended today.
Building a sustainable future was the theme for the Voice Inc. inaugural Nations Builder Conference that began last Friday. The Voice Inc. Executive Director, Serena Sumunop, said that they had many motivational speakers who had already spoke to the 48 participants.
Conference as a means to bring together our 31 student leaders across these two campuses, along with 6 of our friends from Oaktree, which is Australia's largest youth development organization in the country, to come together to discuss, issues that they thought were, pertinent issues in the country, and the activities that they wanted to take up for the year, and policy issues that they wanted to start conversations on in their campus about.
The participants came from all over PNG and from Australia under the organisation called Oaktree. CEO of Oaktree, Chris Wallace, told MTV that Oaktree had brought 5 participants to talk to the Voice Inc. on public campaigning. He said that the organisation holds a lot of campaigning around Australia on extreme poverty and uses powerful social movement to help bring the message across.
We've been really excited to present some of our skills around campaigning, but also to learn a lot, and it's been a great week of growth for us. Particularly, the conference has looked at values-driven leadership and what is necessary and what are the essential ingredients in building a sustainable future, as that is one of the big challenges and opportunities facing Papua New Guinea.
Roy Trivedi, the United Nations Regional Coordinator to PNG, presented also at the conference to the young leaders. He said that such conferences were good in building young people and getting them aware of how to deal with issues affecting their community and country.
Really around, the role of youth movements like the young leaders here in supporting the implementation of those goals. Because one of the things we've learned is that governments alone cannot achieve all those goals. It needs people at all different levels, and particularly the role of youth leaders is critical.
Executive Director Serena Sumunop also announced that they will be opening a 3rd office at the University of Goroka this year. Adelaide Sirox Kari, National, MTV News.
The Small and Medium Enterprises Corporation observed a dedication service for the 2016 working year. SME Corp Managing Director Stephen Markin said the dedication service had some spiritual significance in determining the level of success for the agency. The staff were reminded about the objective of the agency, which is to promote SME development in Papua New Guinea.
Staff assembled at the new wing of the SME Corp office at Gordon's this morning for the 2016 Work Dedication Day. The ceremony included a prayer of dedication and commitment. Managing Director Marken also took the staff through some of the highlights of 2015, which included the birth of SME Corporation and appointment of a new managing director.
The SME in any country is the mainstay. They underpin the employment and growth. So we still have a long way to go as a country to embrace that, but that is where bulk of the people can meaningfully get employed.
Speaking on the 2016 work plan and budget, Mr. Marken said the agency looked forward to have a new SME policy and master plan launched. With the government's call to see the number of SMEs grow, Mr. Marken said funding continues to be an issue.
In terms of availability of finance, NDB is really the one that we sort of our go-to place at the moment, but they have also they're not adequately capitalized. To grow and sustain the economy, you need business income and wealth creation, and that can only come about through SMEs. It is important and it must get the emphasis and the attention it needs in terms of funding and other interventions from the government.
Mr. Maken said they also look forward to seeing the new SME Corp board established, inaugurated, and meetings conducted each quarter. They hope to also develop and launch the SME Corporation website this year. Deli Waigeno, National MTV News.
Law enforcement agencies are concerned about the increased aviation smuggling of contraband items. Airport Police Station Commander Robert Wane warned the public not to be involved in such activities. Commander Wane said Airport Police will tighten measures after the recent smuggling of marijuana, betel nut and mustard.
In the last 3 weeks, police in Port Moresby have confiscated illegal items like marijuana, betel nut and now mustard. All these items were smuggled through commercial planes operating in the country. Yesterday, 31 bags of mustard were seized by the Airport Police and National Airports Corporation in the morning. Airport Police Commander Robert Wane says despite security checks, items passed through.
And as we all know, it's an offence to ship all this kind of stuff into Port Moresby.
2 suspects were arrested and later other 4 were apprehended by police. The 31 bags of mustard were flown in from Kokoda in the Northern Province with a total street estimation of 77,000 if sold. Around 3 p.m. again, 18 bags of mustard were intercepted from an Air Niugini flight from Lae to Port Moresby.
Other airlines that are doing that, and I'm calling on them to enforce that at any other places that they are enforcing. They are shifting betel nuts and mustard into Port Moresby.
Commander Wane says cases of ammunition are not common but warned those involved in such businesses.
That applies to drugs and firearms and anything else that people want to move. As of now, we have got capabilities to monitor them at this stage.
Last week Saturday, Boroko police arrested a security officer at the airport after he signed off for a luggage containing more than 5 kg of marijuana from a PNG air flight from Goroka. Jack Lapave Jr., National MTV News.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has urged all Papua New Guineans to work together to host the upcoming international events. He says these events are important and must be accorded the right formalities. Working committees have been appointed to take charge of these events.
Papua New Guinea is poised to play host to a number of high-profile international events expected this year and ahead. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill gave an update of these various events today. As the chair of the Pacific Islands Forum, PNG has been requested by the Asia, Caribbean and Pacific Secretariat to host this year's ACP Leaders Meeting.
It's important that we extend some of the facilities that we have set up for PIF meetings to be extended to ACP meetings. So we will do that in May, June this year.
Also, a number of APEC ministerial meetings will be hosted around the country. It will be managed by the PNG APEC Secretariat. O'Neill encouraged all Papua New Guineans to participate in this APEC process.
Because APEC countries represent 50% of the world's global economy and trade. So those 21 countries are very important to Papua New Guinea. We must continue to engage with them meaningfully, and our participation in this meeting is very crucial.
On the sporting front, PNG will be hosting 16 nations for the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in November. O'Neill says funds have been allocated to upgrade all schools that will be hosting training facilities for the World Cup.
But we've got 3 world-class stadiums now. We will have, of course, John Guy Stadium. We are now opening the Lloyd Robson Oval in February, and of course the Bissini Parade and the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium will be ready by then. So we are more than capable of hosting this particular sporting event.
Mickey Cavera, National MTV News.
And now looking at our finance news, the kina closed unchanged at 0.3315 US dollars in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying 0.3240 US dollars, 0.4654 Australian dollars, 0.2942 euro and 37.60 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee, cocoa and copper closed the day lower, and crude oil and copper closed lower, while palm oil closed the day higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 250 points lower, the ASX closed at 51 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed at 48 points higher. And still to come on National MTV News, violence against women and children on the increase. Welcome back. Reported cases of sexual violence against women and underage children is still high in the country, but Family and Sexual Violence Action Committee National Coordinator Ume Waineti says it's difficult to provide accurate statistics about the cases. The Australian government reported that over 1,000 victims of sexual violence, especially women and children, have been reported in their community justice program in Hela province alone. Quinten Alam reports.
The number of women and children who are victims of sexual violence is still high in the country.
900 people who have called the service, and we're also seeing lots and lots of young, especially children.
The statistics could be more frightening in rural areas. However, organizations dealing with this issue have their own data and it varies.
Unfortunately, we don't have a proper ways of collecting data, so it's difficult to assess what we are really collecting.
The Australian government has set up a community justice office in Hela province. Statistics of victims of sexual violence in the province seeking help in the last 12 months has totaled up to over 1,000.
Over 1,000 people a year are coming to family and sexual violence units at police stations to try and get help.
Minors under the age of 5 are mostly victims of men they trust.
I think it does vary quite a lot, and the statistics are not that clear, but we have seen quite a large number of children, even under the age of 5.
Such cases involving minors are treated sensitively by police and law and justice officers. Yesterday, the Australian government and ExxonMobil Limited signed an agreement to support the work of community justice and safety in Hela province.
First and primary interest is to ensure that the people and communities within Papua New Guinea are the principal beneficiaries.
ExxonMobil announced a scholarship initiative for 10 people in Hela to study in areas of health and education to reduce the high sexual violence rate in the province.
And to ensure Papua New Guineans from the project areas are identified and receive scholarship assistance to complete studies at health or education related institutions.
Quinten Alom, National MTV News.
John Thomas from Chimbu Province pleaded not guilty before the Waigani Committal Court today for allegedly stealing gold dust worth 150,000 kina in the Goilala district of Central Province. The alleged offence took place in 2006. However, he was arrested and charged in 2015. Police prosecutors said the delay in his arrest was because he was in hiding all these years.
John Thomas is married to a woman from Goilala and lives with his wife at the Yongai station in Goilala. Between the months of May and June 2006, John allegedly stole a 1 kilogram fine gold dust belonging to Andrew Gembo, the complainant. In October 2015, John was formally charged for 1 count of stealing the gold dust worth 50,000 kina. However, while the case proceeded before the committal court, police investigators presented new evidence this morning stating that the value of the gold dust was much higher, in fact 150,000 kina. Magistrate Cosmas Bidar adjourned the hearing to the 1st of March this year to give police enough time to collect more evidence. Magistrate Bidar described it as a constitutional issue and said the committal court does not have any jurisdiction to decide the council's decision to pursue the case to a higher court. Meanwhile, the committal court accepted his plea of not guilty and will hear his case at a later date. Vasinata Yama, National MTV News.
Probationary Constable Pedro Baiba was granted 1,000 kina bail by the Waigani National Court following a bail application filed by his lawyer on the 11th of January. Acting Judge Sally Koget ruled in favour of Baiba this morning after listening to submissions by Baiba's lawyer and the objections made by a lawyer representing the state yesterday. Baiba was charged and imprisoned for armed robbery.
The bail application was made on the grounds that the aggravating circumstances surrounding the alleged armed robbery did not connect Baiba to the offence. Baiba's lawyer said there was no evidence before the courts that a firearm or any offensive weapon was used in the alleged offence. However, lawyer representing the state objected to the bail, arguing that Baiba was previously charged for sexual touching and malicious damage to state property, and violent behaviors was stated in the summary of facts for those alleged offences.
On January 8 this year, the Bomana District Court heard that Baiba and his colleagues from the NCD Footbeat Patrol Unit confiscated cigarettes from a vendor at Waigani on 27 October last year. The victim was 8 months pregnant at that time, and it was alleged that Baiba took 3,700 kina from the victim's wallet. A bail application was filed on that same day but was rejected by Senior Magistrate Cosmos Bidar on the grounds that police investigations on whether a firearm was used in the alleged offence were still continuing, and that the courts would only make decisions based on evidence provided by police. After listening to submissions made by Baiba's lawyer and the objections provided by the lawyer representing the state, Judge Koget described the submissions as serious and adjourned the case to this morning. This is the third time Baiba has been released on bail. Thakla Gunga, National MTV News.
Leaders of the 5 factions involved in the clash at Boundary Road settlement last year have been summoned by the Law and Order Chairman and the Community Policing Unit to appear for mediation next Tuesday. The mediation will try to find a way forward in the ongoing conflict between various Highlands and Morbe groups.
Last year, several houses were burnt. At least 3 men were killed and others seriously injured. One of the triggers of the fighting has been alcohol consumption. Leh District Law and Order Committee, in partnership with the Leh Community Policing Unit, have tried to restore normalcy in the community. But due to the tension, the Peace and Order Committee were not able to hold a mediation last year.
So, me play game summons long, but only must come long mediation. Because long several times people have been asking more long, come long meeting, all not been harm talk.
Last year, the Law and Order Committee issued a preventive order to the different factions involved in the fighting. They also warned that troublemakers would be forcefully evicted if they continued with the violence, but the preventive order has not been effective. The Law and Order Committee issued summons to the leaders to appear for mediation at the Neol Oval next Tuesday. Community leaders who fail to appear next Tuesday will be arrested. Mata Lewis, National MTV News, Leh.
Prison officers at the Kerevat Jail have raised concerns over how young offenders are being treated in prisons all over the country. The officers say they want juveniles to be treated differently and not like adult prisoners. Juveniles at Kerevat Jail are being forced to live with adult offenders as there are no proper facilities to cater for them. Edwin Fidelis reports.
This is the juvenile lockup area within the Kerevat Correctional Institute's main prison. It holds about 8 inmates who are being admitted on various natures of crime they have committed. The general sentiment is that juveniles have to be kept in separate confinement areas while awaiting their jail sentences, but that hasn't been the case in most jails in the country.
We keep them together in one main prison, But you can tell the difference whether it's a remandee or whether it's a low security or it's a high security, or even we can tell it's a juvenile.
A good example of a juvenile rehabilitation center is the Arab Boys Town in Morobe and the Wewak Boys Town in East Sepik Province. These Catholic-run institutions are recognized as alternatives of prisons and sometimes only partly funded by the government. But it's also understood that most of their infrastructure is deteriorating, as over the years they have never received any direct funding support from the government. International humanitarian organizations such as UNICEF have indicated instances of abuse of young offenders and their rights violated within the judiciary system. 2 months ago, we spoke to Chief Inspector John Kolopen, who facilitated a week-long police training on juvenile laws in Kokopo that focused on educating police personnel on how to deal with juveniles when they come into contact with the law.
Our main reason is to try and help police to understand where we can help juvenile, particularly in terms of their rights.
The sense of satisfaction to send a young offender into prison to dwell with other prisoners is not widely accepted in many prisons in the country. Now many are questioning if sending a juvenile into prison is rehabilitation or simply a punishment.
Normally in the cells they do not have, they don't mix them up together, particularly in the big prison camp. The juveniles still have their area where they are looked after and they have their own wardens.
But PNG's juvenile justice system is seemingly choosing the easy way around this debate, and that is to lock them up and release them back to their communities once they have served their jail term. Edwin Fidelis, National MTV News, Kokopo.
The Lae Police have started off this year's operation with the parade held at the Bumbu Police Barracks on Tuesday. The parade is to remind officers to continue the good work they did during the Christmas and New Year operations.
2016 is the year of discipline in the RPNGC, as highlighted by the Police Commissioner Gary Baki. And police in Lae have been tasked to reduce complaints from the public against bad police behavior. Lae Metropolitan Superintendent Anthony Wagambi Jr. reminded his officers to be mindful of their conduct as they try to provide an efficient service. The aim to restore public confidence.
We have to win the hearts and minds of the people. Public confidence must come back. A lot of negativity against police in the media of our conduct. So that's I've been stressing on that one. That we need to be more professional in our approach towards the public.
Wagambi also warned officers to look after the limited resources they have and not to misuse them, adding members of the constabulary must understand that RPNGC is the oldest government institution in this country with over 120 years history.
So we need to take pride in our uniform, in our job of being part of this organization, and do things properly, be more professional, and through that, having pride in our organization and in ourselves, being part of it, then that services to the people will produce better results.
Wagambi's warning follows an incident last week where a commissioned officer was assaulted by a few constables. These constables were on a drinking spree and were misusing the police vehicle. The officers were suspended. Wagambi warned that ill discipline will not be tolerated under his command. Mata Luis, National MTV News, Lae.
Trukai Sports is next. The arrival of the New Zealand Ferns and our under-17 women's soccer team are through to the semis in Cook Islands. I'll be back with the details.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. New Zealand's national team, the Football Ferns, arrived in Port Moresby today on the eve of their first leg of the Olympic qualifiers with Papua New Guinea. New Zealand coach Tony Readings has said that preparations for the squad have been good, having played Brazil in November last year as a lead-up to Papua New Guinea.
Many of the players in the team took part in the OFC Women's Nations Cup in Rabaul in 2014. The team has been together for a couple of years, but many have gone to play in other countries. Coach Ridding said the return of the girls to the team brought experience from all over the world to help build the team.
Around the world, and those players you just mentioned there, and we've got a few others that are now based around the world, that they're sort of learning their game every day, and they always come back with something new to add. And yeah, we're looking for those guys that they're quite experienced now. They've, like Abby Erceg, 100 caps, and Katie Hall, Ali Riley, Rhea Percival got 100 caps, and we're looking for that leadership to come through in the big games. And I mean, they don't get any bigger than the Olympic qualifiers. It's a really big game for us.
Riddings also said their match against Papua New Guinea will be tough, but they are prepared.
We're really looking forward to the game, and we've been here quite a few times to PNG, and we always really enjoy coming. And the games we play against PNG have always got closer and closer. So again, we know it's going to be a tough game, but we're just always looking forward to it.
The match will be played at the PNG FA Lay Academy and not at the Sir Ignatius Kilagi Stadium or Sir John Guy Stadium here in Port Moresby. Ridding said even though there were issues with the venue, they will still play wherever.
And this game's been organised at quite short notice, and I know that there was attempts made to try and get the games played at a stadium. Yes, we don't really care where we play, really, we just love playing football, so it's not really a big thing for us.
Elijah Levet, National MTV Sports.
The Papua New Guinea women's under-17 team will play New Caledonia today in the semi-finals in Rarotonga, Cook Islands. PNG and New Zealand are the only teams to have gone through their pool matches undefeated. New Zealand and Fiji will go head-to-head in the first semi-final match, followed by PNG and New Caledonia.
Papua New Guinea's match will be against a strong New Caledonian attacking team. New Caledonia finished in their pool matches with a massive 5-0 victory against Samoa, securing a spot in the semi-finals. Papua New Guinea has been concentrating more on defense ahead of the semi-final playoff. Coach Margaret Aka said this has been a problem in the last two matches. PNG drew 2-2 in their last match against Fiji. Aka said it was frustrating not securing a win, having led twice in the match. Goalkeeper Faith Kasire has been strong in the net and will play a vital role in the match against New Caledonia. Belinda Giada and Anna Malara will also be a threat to the New Caledonian defense. Their speed and fast attacking plays will be an advantage to the team. Elijah Levet, National MTV Sports.
Meanwhile, PNG striker Belinda Giada is in the running for the Golden Boot as she has been outstanding, leading the competition with the highest number of goals scored in every game. Giada has a total of 8 goals in just 3 matches so far in the championship. And Trukai Sports continues after the break with volleyball at Tatana in the nation's capital. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The annual Tatana Volleyball Tournament's 7th Nick and Bonnie Allen Cup began in Tatana Village yesterday. The volleyball tournament is one of the biggest and attracts teams from NCD as well as the Central Province.
Over 20 teams have registered for both the Open Division and the Junior Divisions. The Under-21 competition has already begun and the seniors are set to kick off next week. The tournament has attracted many teams as far as Hula Village in the Central Province. Many of the players part of the national volleyball team, PNG Samoa, are familiar faces that compete in the annual tournament. The Tatana Araira Volleyball Tournament is worth a total of about 25,000 kina, which will be distributed among winners. The players competing were asked to play in the true nature of sport and to abide by tournament rules to have a successful competition. The tournament began yesterday and will continue for the next 2 weeks. The tournament is also great preparation for volleyball enthusiasts as they prepare for the 2016 season. Dion Kombeng, National MTV Sports.
And Trukai Sports ends on that note. The weather details when we return.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Looking at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow, fine for all centres in the southern region. While in the Momase region, mostly fine in Lae City and fine in Madang, Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, fine in Lorengau, Kokopo, Rabaul and Buka, and mostly fine in Kavieng and Kimber. And cloudy for all centres in the Highlands region. Now recapping our top stories for tonight. Government says it's tough times ahead for the economy. New Transport Minister to focus on aviation safety, and the Ferns arrive for the first Olympic qualifier. And that's how it is this Thursday, the 21st of January 2016. Until next time, pleasant viewing. Good night.